I got in the I was always in the music. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
My uncle, who was in Southside Jamaica, Queens. I used to be in Queens every weekend around my family over there, around the corner from Baisley Projects. And he introduced me to like early Ron G mixtapes. I used to see Kid Capri DJing at the end of Def Comedy Jam.
Yeah.
You know, I used to hear Cool DJ Red Alert on 98.7 Kiss when it was a hip hop and R&B station. And, you know, just all the mixtapes from that era. I grew up in the mixtape era and I fell in love with music. I fell in love with DJing. You know, in the 80s, I was always listening to music and big on like the big stars like Michael Jackson and Stevie Wonder and all that stuff. So I was always into music, but my uncle got me into listening to the mixtapes and I really got into DJing after that.
I'm about to ask you some shit. We come from that era. I'm about to ask you.
I just want to say, don't get it twisted. When you're going to get them Ron G's, you got to make sure you get that Max L Gold. You such, you know what I'm talking about. Get the
bootlegs. This generation know about that. You know what I'm saying?
Can you give me a little cliff notes? I'm definitely Gen Z.
Yeah.
So Nadesh, the way it normally worked was like the DJs would drop off a master copy, right? Like a master copy to certain promoters or venues that they know would duplicate it the right way, but then the bootleggers came, right? So you would get a bootleg mixtape and it would look good and sound good, but after you played that shit like 2 or 3 times, the real would pop on you. The real would pop on
this
you.
Is pre-internet.
Yeah, this is before the internet. Yeah,
you were probably raised in when the internet was already moving, so the internet is popping. You get all your music on there or streaming or whatever. But before the internet, people got their music either on the radio, on television with music videos, or in the streets with the mixtapes.
Right.
And a lot of the time, and the mixtapes was never legal, but you know, everybody was doing it. We was making mixtapes, selling them in the streets. Every street corner in New York, everywhere, every street corner everywhere, and any big city he was in had mixtape mom and pop shops.
Facts.
And we would make mixtapes where the DJs was playing music. You would buy their mixes, you know what I'm saying? And then there was guys like DJ Clue, shout out to my brother DJ Clue, that really made the exclusive popular. So you would get exclusive that wasn't even out in stores or on radio yet or anything on the mixtapes. And yeah, the way the DJs would do is they would make a master copy, sell the store the master copy for whatever amount of money, and then they would dub that on cassette or CD and sell them.
But so and let me.
It's a whole different era, bro.
I'm right in between. You know what I'm saying?
I missed that era.
Here's one more gem for you, Nadesh. Let me show you how serious this shit was. And Sus is gonna laugh at this shit. Because mixtapes was so popular, right? I mean, like so popular, there would be guys that actually walked around with a fucking speaker this big on a trolley, and they would have the mixtapes on top and play the mixtape as they walking around neighborhoods just blasting the music all day long. And if you heard something, you're like, yo, what's that? Yeah, I got that. That's the new, you know, like he said, Kid Capri 12 or Ron D30, and he'd go right into the basket and give it to you. And this was a business, and this is how everybody got things.
Not to mention, a lot of artists got broke on mixtapes that couldn't get in the radio circuit just yet. You know what I'm saying? If they couldn't get on the radio because they wasn't signed or they didn't have the budget or whatever the case was, they could rock with the DJs and get in the mixtape circuit, and people would listen to them in the streets. So it's a whole different era. I really missed that era. It was more authentic.
Like I said, I'm in between both. Yeah, you know what I'm saying, Paul? You know what I'm saying? Like, because I remember I used to cop the instrumental CDs. I used to cop the clues. I remember staying up for Monday night mixtape. You know what I'm saying? Mom, you take your ass to sleep. You know what I'm saying? But Fab breaking on the internet with Nori. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Those days. You know what I'm saying? So I appreciate it. But what made you want to, you know what I mean, be on the DJ side versus rap, bro? Like, you know what I'm saying? Because I'm a rapper. I want to know what made you want to be on the mixes.
It's so funny. When we was younger, we used to write raps and stuff. You know how you write raps with your boys and that, but I was never a rapper. I don't know. I just fell in love with DJing. I can't tell you what it was. I literally used to see Kid Capri. Shout out to my hero, my brother Kid Capri, DJing at the end of Def Comedy Jam, watching him scratch the vinyl. I used to watch the movie Juice with Omar Epps and all that, and how they used to be DJing. I used to listen to, like I said, Red Alert on Kiss FM and all these Ron G mixes. I just fell in love with it. You know what I'm saying?